It's time to cook with Susan Beck. Waste not, want not. I'm a living example of this old saying. Here are some old crusts of bread and old dried buns that I'm going to turn into croutons. My husband will tell you nothing goes to waste at our house too. I can turn anything into a good casserole or find some way to put it to use. So I am simply taking all these old pieces of bread crust and this old bun here and cutting them into 1-inch pieces or so that they'll make a nice sized crouton, using a serrated blade on my knife here for this task. I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees and we will just toast this bread until it is crunchy. One of the things my family likes about these croutons over the croutons that you buy at the store is that they don't really cut the roof of your mouth as much. They're not quite as hard as a bought-in crouton. Another good reason to make your croutons instead of buying them is you can reduce some of the icky ingredients that go into things that are processed and can hang out on the shelf for months. You could probably keep croutons in your fridge, or not in your fridge, but in your cupboard for at least a year, I would guess, and nothing would happen to them. So there's no processed things in mine. Of course, they won't last quite as long either, but I can still keep them for months in a Tupperware container, sealed tight, to keep them fresh and crisp. So these are simply going to go onto this tray. And I want them all in a nice single layer. I'm probably going to have to get a second tray to do all of these because they don't brown and crisp up evenly if I have too many on my tray at once. I do no measuring when I make this recipe. I simply drizzle everything with olive oil. I do want plenty so that they're fairly coated on every side. I'll be tossing these with my hands in just a second. I like salt, red pepper flakes, and fresh ground pepper. Now in the store they sell these with different things like garlic, Parmesan cheese. You can make these in any flavor using any seasonings that you would like to use. So I'm going to simply toss this around and catch all that oil that's on the bottom of the pan and make sure that gets rubbed into all of these bread crusts. I would say I could probably use a little more olive oil, so let me wipe my hands off here and drizzle just a little more on there. It takes several tablespoons of olive oil to do this job. And when I get a bag of bread crust in the freezer or when I start to run out of croutons in my cupboard, then that's a good day to make these again. Okay, I'll just repeat that with the other pan of these and I will bake them in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. I do like to give them a little turn part way through. I think they brown a little better on the top and bottom and more evenly if I do so. I cannot stress enough keeping an eye on your croutons as they bake. I know I said 15 minutes, but they burn very, very easily. Really, the only way to tell if they're ready is to give one a try. They should have a crunch, but they should not be turning dark brown or black in color. Once your croutons have cooled, they're ready to eat. I leave them just cool on the sheet pans that I baked them on. I simply add a few to my salad to give it a nice little crunch when I eat it. Those croutons that I'm not going to use tonight, I put into a storage container that will seal tightly and keep the air out so that they will stay fresh. If for some reason they aren't so fresh, you can always pop them back into the oven for a few more minutes to crisp them back up. So, I hope you enjoy this homemade crunch for your salad. Homemade croutons. Really, the only way to tell if they're ready is to try one. Maybe I shouldn't have tried such a big one.